All right, here we are, our final video on different techniques for counting up things in our probability problems. So far, we've talked about literally just counting them. We've talked about using the fundamental counting principle, and closely associated with that is the factorial operation. We talked about permutations, and now in this last video, we're going to talk about combinations. You'll see in this video, it's very, very similar to what we talked about with permutations. So as we go through this video, I recommend that you really try to focus on the spots where it's similar and the key differences. Perhaps the differences are even more important between a combination and a permutation. So with all of that said, let's get started. Here's the learning objectives. You'll see that it's the exact same learning objectives we had in the last video, except instead of calculating and knowing when to use permutations, now we're calculating and knowing when to use combinations. So I'm going to follow the same basic format as what I did with the last video. And we're going to start by talking about how to do a combination on the calculator and what they look like. Just like a permutation, there is a formula for calculating combinations, but in our class, we're just going to do it on the calculator. So here's how they look when you're using a calculator. Okay, so the first thing is you're going to have a number. And then because it's a combination, you're going to have a large letter C. And then you're going to have another number. Notice that the notation is very, very similar to what it was when we did permutations. And in fact, the numbers mean something very similar. Just like, in fact, exactly the same as it was with a permutation, the first number is how many things are in a group. Okay, and the second number has to deal with picking things out of the group. But here's the key difference. All we care about is what we pick. We don't care about what order it's in. Order, when we're working with combinations, does not matter. With a permutation, the order did matter. With a combination, the order does not matter. Okay, so if you think back to the last video, we did 10 permute 3 in the last video, and the answer was 720. I would challenge you, just before I type this into my calculator here, because that's the next thing we're going to do is type it in the calculator, see what this is equal to. But before I type it in, I would ask you, pause the video for just a second and think about, come up with a solid answer. Do you think this answer is going to be bigger or smaller than 720? So again, 720 was the answer when I did 10 permute 3. And in a permutation, the order matters. I care about what order I picked the 3 items in. I care about which one was first, which one was second, which one was third. In a combination, all I care about is what I pick. I don't care about the order that it's in. So picking something first and picking something second is no different in my mind when I'm working with a combination. So do you think that if I have 10 items and I'm going to pick 3 out of them and I don't care about the order, will this be more or less than it was with a permutation? Will this be more or less than the 720 that we got when we did the permutation? Think about that. All right, so hopefully you've got a feeling for that. Now, to type this into the calculator, it's really basically the same as it was with a permutation. It's in the exact same menu. We type it in the exact same way. So first I type in my first number, 10. So I type in 10. And then in my menu on my calculator, it was the alpha window. And that's where these were on my calculator. There's my factorial. There's my permutation. Option 8 is my combination. So I choose option 8. And now I type in the 3 and I press enter. And there's my answer. There's 120 ways. So notice that's significantly less. When I did a permutation, I got 720. But now with a combination, I only get 120. And you should kind of have a basic feel for why the number is so much smaller. If we think about, if I have my 10 digits and I'm going to pick a 3-digit number like we talked about before, in a permutation, these two numbers are very, very different. Again, if we're talking about money, would you rather get $123 or would you rather get $321? Okay. But in the land of combinations, these two things are the same because all I care about is that the numbers that I picked were 1, 2, and 3. And in this problem, the numbers that I picked are still 1, 2, and 3. And the fact that I put them in a different order doesn't matter. And so because these are counted as the same option, it makes the total number of combinations much, much smaller. In this example, I go from having 2 different answers to now that's the same answer. So that's only 1 answer. Okay, so that's what's happening here. All right, so this is how we calculate them. And a little bit of just sort of number sense, making sure that we understand why is it that this number is smaller. Now, the next thing that we talk about is when can you use it? And just like we had with permutations, we have a list of 3 requirements. And the first 2 are the same as they were with a permutation. The first two requirements are exactly the same. So number 1, number 2, there is a third requirement. That one's different. So the first requirement was that we have multiple events. Okay, that's no different than before. We've got multiple things in our group, multiple things to choose from, whatever, we've got that. The second requirement is that there can be no replacements. No replacements. Okay, so just like with a permutation, once I pick something out, I can't put it back in and put it again. No replacements. But here's the part that's different. Now, order does not matter. Order does not matter when I'm working with a combination. I don't care about the order that the things happen in. Okay, so here is an example. Okay, if you need to pause the video to write this down and to read through it, that's fine. Go ahead and pause the video. Once you're ready, then resume the video and let's work through it. All right, so here's the situation. I have 7 video clips saved on my computer, and I'm going to email those to a friend. Unfortunately, my video clips are big enough that I can't send all 7 of them in the same email. I can't attach all 7 of them. So I can only send 3 at a time because of the size of the files. All right. So the question is, how many ways can I choose 3 videos from my group of 7 to send in my first email? All right. So maybe for whatever reason to me, I want my first video or my first email to have like the best videos. I want them to stand out. I want them to be the exciting thing. But all I care about in the end is that my friend gets these 3 videos. So how many different ways can I choose the 3 videos that I'm going to send in my first email? So remember the way that this works is I know I'm choosing. So first of all, there's going to be a C. The number that goes in the front of the C is the total number that I'm choosing from, the total number in the group. So in this case, I'm choosing 3 videos from a group of 7. So the total number in my group is the number 7. The number that comes after is how many we're picking out. So in this case, we're picking out 3 videos. And notice, just like it was with a permutation, I can never pick more than I had in my group. So you'll never have a situation where the second number is bigger than the first number. It could be equal, that could happen, but it would never be bigger, right? So I've got 7, choose 3. And now I'm just going to type 7, choose 3 into my calculator. And whatever that is equal to, well, that's how many ways that I can select these emails. So I type in 7, I go alpha window to find my menu. I choose option 8, type in the number 3, and it looks like I have 35 options for what order I send these to. I'm sorry, not what order, but 35 options for how I connect or which 3 videos I connect to my first email. All right, so this is the basic idea of combinations. Very, very similar to permutations. The biggest difference is that we don't care about order. So thanks for watching. Have a good one.